Ambassador Doyun sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien council members whisper to each other. He had sat in this same chamber 47 times before. Each time, he came with hope. Each time, he left with nothing but broken promises. The Convergence Prime Station floated in neutral space, far from any star system. It was built for these meetings. The council chamber was massive, with seats arranged in a circle. 12 different alien species had representatives here. Humans had only one chair, pushed far to the side like an afterthought. Doyun looked down at his datapad. The images on it made his stomach turn. Bodies. Human bodies. Men, women, and children from the colony on New Jeju. The Arconian fleet had arrived 3 weeks ago. They said they were just passing through human space. They said it was an accident when their ships opened fire on the settlement domes. There were no survivors. Admiral He-jin sat next to Doyun. Her military uniform was crisp and perfect. Her face showed nothing, but Doyun knew her well enough to see the rage burning behind her eyes. She had family on New Jeju, a sister, 3 nephews, all gone now. The Arconian council speaker, Velthar, finally turned his 3 eyes toward the human section. His translator device crackled to life. Ambassador Doyun, you may present your complaint, Velthar said. His tone made it clear he found this boring. Doyun stood. He projected the images from New Jeju onto the chamber's main display. Burned homes, crater-filled streets, small bodies covered in dust. 3 weeks ago, Arconian warships attacked New Jeju colony. This was the 18th human settlement, attacked in the past 5 years. We have brought evidence each time. We have asked for justice each time. We have received nothing. Several alien council members looked away from the images. Some seemed uncomfortable. Most seemed indifferent. Quinra, the Celethi trade magnate, clicked her mandibles together in what passed for laughter among her species. Ambassador, your colonies are often in dangerous regions. Perhaps humans should build stronger defenses instead of complaining to this council. Doyun felt his jaw tighten. Everyone in this room knew the truth. The Celethi made fortunes selling human prisoners as slave labor. The Arconians wanted human territory for expansion. The other species simply did not care what happened to humanity. We came here 200 years ago in peace, Doyun said. His voice stayed calm, though it took all his control. We joined this council in good faith. We followed every rule. We signed every treaty. And for 200 years, you have taken our people, stolen our worlds, and killed our families. Every time we ask for help, you give us words. Just words. Velthar made a sound like a sigh. Ambassador, the Council has offered humanity protectorate status many times. If you accept, the stronger civilizations here can offer you proper protection. Doyun knew what that meant. Protectorate status was just a polite word for slavery. Humanity would become servants to the Council, giving up their freedom in exchange for being allowed to exist. We reject that offer, Doyun said. Again. Then what do you want? Velthar asked. The Council cannot police every border dispute and colonial accident. If humanity is too weak to defend itself, that is not our responsibility. Several Council members made sounds of agreement. Doyun looked around the chamber. He had spent 30 years of his life in this room. 30 years begging these creatures to honor their own laws. 30 years watching them treat humans like insects. He felt a gentle touch on his arm. Admiral He-jin leaned close and whispered something in his ear. Just 8 words, but they changed everything. Doyun looked down at her. Are you certain? He asked quietly. He-jin nodded once. Her eyes were hard as steel. Doyun turned back to face the Council. He gathered his datapad and documents. He placed them carefully in his case. Ambassador, Velthar said. We have not dismissed This session. I am dismissing myself, Doyun replied. And humanity is dismissing this council. The chamber went silent. Every translator had stopped. Every alien representative was staring at him now. What did you say? Velthar asked. Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We are voiding all treaties, all trade agreements, and all diplomatic protocols. From this moment forward, humanity stands alone. Quinra made her clicking laugh again. You cannot survive alone, Ambassador. Your species needs this council. Doyun smiled then. It was not a happy smile. We gave you 200 years, he said softly. 200 years to treat us with basic dignity. 200 years to honor your own laws. 200 years to learn that we meant what we said. He picked up his case and turned toward the exit. Admiral Hagen stood with him. Where are you going? Velthar demanded. You cannot simply leave negotiations. Doyun stopped at the chamber door. He looked back at the council one last time. These are not negotiations. Negotiations require two sides that respect each other. You do not respect us. You never have. He paused. You had 2 centuries to learn we meant what we said. Now you will learn what we did not say. Admiral Hagen opened the door. They walked out together. Behind them, the council chamber erupted in confusion. Some aliens were laughing. Some were angry. Most seemed unconcerned. As they walked down the station corridor toward their ship, Hagen spoke quietly. They think we are bluffing. I know. Doyun said. Good, Hagen replied. Let them think that. For now, their shuttle departed Convergence Prime 20 minutes later. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their session as if nothing important had happened. They discussed trade routes and mining rights. They scheduled their next meeting. Not one of them realized that humanity had just declared war in everything but name. Not one of them understood that the scared, weak species they had bullied for 2 centuries had been preparing for this exact moment. Not one of them knew what was coming. Director Minho stood in the command center deep beneath the surface of Mars. The room was buried 3 kilometers under the red dust. No scanning technology in the galaxy could detect it. Around him, dozens of screens showed star maps, ship production numbers, and fleet movements. What is the status on the outer shipyards? He asked. Captain Jiwan's face appeared on the main display. She was aboard the Indomitable, humanity's first true warship. Not a defense platform or patrol boat. A weapon designed for one purpose: to destroy anything that stood against it. Shipyard 17 is at full production, Jiwan reported. 18 and 19 will come online within the week. We will have 300 ships ready within 6 months. Minho nodded. 300 ships. The Galactic Council thought humanity had maybe 50 ships total. They were wrong. So, very wrong. For the past 80 years, ever since the first human colony was raided, a secret division of Earth's government had been working. They built shipyards in asteroid belts, hidden in the rocks and ice. They established factories on dead moons that showed no signs of life. They recruited the best engineers, the brightest scientists, and the most dedicated soldiers, all in secret, all preparing for the day humanity would stop asking for peace and start enforcing it. How are the weapon tests going? Minho asked. Jiwan smiled. It was not a kind smile. Excellent. The kinetic bombardment system works perfectly. We can crack a planet's crust from orbit. The swarm missiles have a 98% hit rate, and the AI guidance cannot be jammed. And the stellar disruption device. She paused. Sir, that weapon scares me. Good, Minho said. It should. Have you tested it? On an uninhabited system, yes. We caused the star to emit a radiation burst that fried every electronic system within the system. The effect lasted for 72 hours. Jiwan looked directly at the camera. Sir, if we use these weapons, the Council will call us monsters. They have been calling us worse for 200 years, Minho replied. At least now we will deserve their fear. Across human space, The preparations continued. Intelligence Officer Yoonji sat in a small station near the council borders. Her team monitored every alien transmission, every fleet movement, every cargo shipment. They had been doing this for decades, building a complete map of council military strength. She knew where every Arconian battle carrier was stationed. She knew the patrol routes of the Salathi raiders. She knew which council species had strong defenses and which were vulnerable. Most importantly, she knew they had no idea humanity was watching so closely. "Ma'am, we have another raid," one of her analysts reported. "Salathi ships just hit the mining station on Bremen 3. Unji pulled up the report. 15 humans dead. 23 taken prisoner. They would be sold as slaves within the week. The council would do nothing, just as they always did nothing. "Log it," she said quietly. "Add it to the list." The list was very long now. Every attack, every death, every injustice for the past 200 years. Humanity had been keeping score. Soon, very soon, the bill would come due. Engineer Kwan oversaw Production Facility 7 on Europa. The facility was built inside the ice moon, hidden from scanning. Inside its massive chambers, automated systems built warships at a speed that should have been impossible. The Council believed AI automation at this level was restricted to only the most advanced species. They believed humans were too primitive for such technology. They were wrong about that too. "How many units today?" Kwan asked his supervisor AI. 4 destroyers, 12 fighters, and 1 carrier frame. The AI responded. "Production is exceeding estimates by 18%. Kwan smiled. Facility 7 was just one of 37 like it. All across human space, in secret locations, the machines were building an armada. Not in years or decades. In months. The Council kept raiding human colonies, thinking humanity was weak. They did not notice when human civilians started evacuating from mixed species stations. They did not realize that every human merchant ship that left Council space never came back. They did not understand that humanity was pulling its people back behind their borders, preparing for war. Admiral Heejin reviewed the fleet reports in her office on Earth. The numbers still seemed unreal to her. She had joined the military 40 years ago, when humanity's fleet was just a handful of patrol ships. Now, she commanded more firepower than the entire Council combined. "Do you think they suspect?" asked her second-in-command. "Some of them are starting to," Heijin said. "Council intelligence has noticed our increased ship production, but they think we are panicking, building defenses out of fear. They cannot imagine we are building an attack fleet, because they think we would never attack them." "Exactly." Heijin pulled up a star map. Red markers showed every Council military base, every fleet position, every strategic target. "They think we are afraid of them. They do not understand that we have been angry for 200 years. Anger held back by hope that diplomacy might work. That hope is gone now." 6 months passed. The Council continued their raids. They continued treating humans as lesser beings. They laughed at humanity's withdrawal from the Council, calling it a tantrum that would end when humans came begging to return. Then they started noticing strange things. Human ships were moving in odd patterns. Energy readings from human space were increasing, but when they sent spy ships to investigate, those ships never found anything unusual. The Council decided it was nothing to worry about. They were very wrong. In her ready room aboard the Indomitable, Captain Ji-won received the final message from Earth Command. Just 3 words. "You are authorized." She assembled her officers in the briefing room. These were people she had trained with for years. People who had lost friends and family to Council raids. People who were tired of being victims. "The time has come," she said simply. "We launch in 72 hours, across human space, in 37 hidden shipyards, in hundreds of secret bases." The same message was being delivered. Humanity's military, built in secret for decades, was about to reveal itself. Admiral Heijin addressed the entire human fleet, via encrypted communication. Ships that had been scattered across hundreds of systems now listened to their supreme commander. "For 200 years, we have followed their rules," Heejin said. "We have fought with one hand tied behind our backs. We have shown mercy to those who showed us none. We have been patient with those who mistook our patience for weakness. That ends now." She paused, looking at the camera with eyes that had seen too much death. No more rules, no more mercy, no more restraint. The Council wanted to see what humanity is capable of. We are about to show them. Make them remember this. Make them regret every human life they took. Make them wish they had listened when we asked for peace. The transmission ended. Across human space, thousands of ships began moving into position. The Council's long-range scanners started picking up the fleet movements. Finally, some Council members began to worry. But it was far too late for worry now. The Arconian home system had been peaceful for 3,000 years. Their civilization was old, powerful, and confident. Their defense stations orbited the outer planets, powerful enough to stop any attack, or so they believed. Captain Jiwan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the countdown. Around her ship, 200 other human vessels waited in formation. They had jumped into the system simultaneously with 11 other human fleets, striking at 12 Arconian military installations at once. The Arconians had no warning. One moment, their scanners showed empty space. "All ships, weapons free," Jiwan said calmly. "Begin the attack." The Indomitable's main cannon fired. The weapon used gravitational manipulation to launch a solid projectile, at a significant fraction of light speed. The Arconian defense station never had time to raise shields. The projectile punched through the station like it was made of paper. Secondary explosions tore the structure apart. Around the system, human ships unleashed weapons the Council had never seen before. Swarm missiles separated into hundreds of smaller warheads, each one guided by sophisticated AI that predicted enemy movements. Arconian point defense systems tried to shoot them down but could not track them all. Explosions blossomed across Arconian ships like deadly flowers. An Arconian battle group tried to form up and counterattack. Their ships were massive, built over centuries to intimidate their enemies. They moved toward the human fleet, with weapons charging. Jiwan watched them come. Launch fighters. Pilot Sora sat in her cockpit as her fighter launched from the Indomitable's bay. Around her, 500 other fighters did the same. They were small, fast, and carried weapons that seemed impossible for their size. The Arconian capital ship opened fire. Massive energy beams that could vaporize a small moon cut through space. Sora's fighter dove and rolled, the beam passing so close she could see her instruments flicker from the energy wash. She did not slow down. "All wings, attack formation Delta," she called over the comm. The human fighters split into groups, each one moving in patterns that seemed random. The Arconian targeting computers could not lock on. The ships were too fast, too unpredictable. Sora armed her torpedoes. These were not normal torpedoes. They were designed to punch through shields using a phase-shifting technology that the Council thought was impossible. She fired at point-blank range, her fighter passing within meters of the Arconian hull. The torpedo struck. It went through the shields like they were not there. Deep inside the Arconian ship, the warhead detonated, destroying the reactor. All around the system, the same scene repeated. The Arconians fought back hard. They destroyed dozens of human fighters and damaged several human ships. But for every hit they scored, the humans destroyed 10 of their vessels. The battle was not even close. On the ground of the Arconian military command planet, Marine Commander Taehyung led his assault teams toward the Council's military headquarters building. The building was supposed to be impregnable, protected by the best security in the galaxy. Human Marines appeared from nowhere. They had infiltrated the planet weeks ago, waiting for this moment. Their powered armor let them move faster and hit harder than any Council soldier. Their weapons cut through Arconian defenses, like they were not there. Third squad, take the east entrance, Taehyung ordered. First squad with me. We go through the front. Sir. The front entrance has heavy weapons emplacements, one of his sergeants said. I know. Taehyung smiled inside his helmet. That is why we are going there. I want them to see us coming. The Marines charged. Arconian defenders opened fire with everything they had. Energy weapons that could melt steel bounced off human shields. Kinetic weapons that could punch through tank armor barely scratched the human power armor. Taehyung's armor recorded everything. The images would be sent to every council world. He wanted them all to see what happened when you pushed humanity too far. The Marines breached the building. Inside, Arconian soldiers tried to mount a defense. It was useless. The humans moved through the corridors like a force of nature, unstoppable and terrifying. Within an hour, they had captured the entire facility. Taehyung found Council Speaker Velthar in his command center. The Arconian was trying to send a distress signal to the rest of the council. The signal will not go through, Taehyung said. We are jamming all communications in this system. Velthar turned his 3 eyes toward the human. You cannot do this. There are rules. Laws of warfare that even you must follow. We followed your rules for 200 years, Taehyung replied. Where were your laws when your ships killed civilians on New Jeju? Where were your rules when your people raided our colonies? He stepped closer. We are done following rules that only apply to us. The council will crush you for this, Velthar said, his voice filled with hatred. The council is welcome to try. Taehyung signaled his team. Secure this location. Take all their military data, and make sure every council species sees the footage of what happened here today. Back in space, the battle was ending. The Arconian fleet was in ruins. Burning hulks drifted in orbit. Defense stations were shattered. In 12 hours, humanity had destroyed what the Arconians had built over centuries. Captain Jiwon stood on her bridge and looked at the devastation. Part of her felt sick. She was not a monster. She did not enjoy killing. But another part of her, the part that remembered New Jeju, felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Captain, we are receiving surrender requests from the remaining Arconian ships, her communications officer reported. Tell them we accept their surrender, Jiwon said. Have our ships escort them to the outer system and disarm them. Anyone who tries to escape or fight will be destroyed. What about the civilian stations and planets? Her first officer asked. We do not touch them. Jiwon was firm on this. Our targets are military only. We are not here to massacre civilians. We are here to break their ability to ever attack us again. This was important. Humanity could have destroyed the Arconian civilian population easily. The weapons they had brought could crack planets. But they chose not to use them. This restraint was deliberate and calculated. The Council needed to understand something crucial. Humanity was not out of control. They were not acting from blind rage. Every action was planned, measured, and precise. The humans were holding back, showing that they could destroy everything if they wanted to, but choosing not to. That made them more terrifying, not less. As the human fleet prepared to leave the Arconian system, they broadcast a message. It was sent on all frequencies, in all council languages. The message was simple and direct. The peace talks are over. For 200 years, we asked for justice through diplomacy. You gave us nothing but contempt. We will no longer ask. We will no longer negotiate. We will no longer tolerate your attacks on our people. This is your only warning. Leave human space alone. Or what happened here today will seem merciful compared to what comes next. The human ships jumped away, leaving the Arconians to count their dead and assess the damage. News of the attack spread through council space within hours. Most species did not believe the reports at first. Humans were weak. Humans were not warriors. Humans could not possibly have defeated the Arconians so completely. But the evidence could not be denied. Sensor logs showed the battle. Survivors told their stories. The footage from the ground assault was clear and unmistakable. Humanity had struck the first blow. It had been devastating, precise, and completely one-sided. And everyone in the galaxy suddenly realized that the humans had been hiding their true strength for a very long time. The emergency council session was chaos. Representatives from 12 species shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate retaliation against humanity. Others wanted to negotiate. A few suggested surrendering completely. Trade magnate Quinra stood before the council, her mandibles trembling with rage. My shipping empire is finished. The humans have blockaded every major trade route. My ships cannot move. My cargo sits in warehouses. I am losing millions of credits every day. Your profits mean nothing, snapped a Vrelian representative. The Arconians lost 300 ships and 2 military command centers. This is war. Council Military Coordinator Cormash pulled up tactical displays. His career had been spent studying warfare. He had commanded fleets in a dozen conflicts. But looking at the human attack patterns, he felt genuine fear for the first time in his life. We need to understand what we are facing, he said, trying to bring order to the meeting. The humans hit 12 targets simultaneously, with perfect coordination. Their ships are faster, their weapons more powerful, and their tactics more sophisticated than we estimated. Where did they get this technology? Matter. They built it, said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look at the eldest, a being so old that some said she remembered when the council was formed. They built it while we were not watching. While we mocked them and raided their colonies, they were preparing for war. We assumed they were weak because they asked for peace. We mistook patience for weakness. Then we will show them our strength, Cormash said. I am assembling a combined council fleet. 5,000 ships from 6 different species. We will strike at Earth itself and end this war quickly. In orbit around 3 council homeworlds, human fleets appeared without warning. Fleet Commander Nari stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Resolute, and watched the alien planets below. Begin the blockade, she ordered. Human ships positioned themselves around each planet. They did not fire weapons. They did not attack stations. They simply stopped all traffic from leaving or entering. Every ship that tried to break through was disabled, but not destroyed. The message was clear. Nothing moves until we say so. Commander, we have a Salathi civilian transport requesting permission to leave the system, her communications officer reported. They say they have medical supplies needed on another world. Denied, Nari said without hesitation. Nothing leaves. I do not care what they carry. Across council space, the same scene repeated. Human fleets appeared at major worlds and shut them down completely. No trade ships could move. No supply convoys could deliver food or materials. No military vessels could reinforce threatened positions. The council economy began collapsing almost immediately. Species that depended on interstellar trade found their resources dwindling. Stations that needed regular supply runs began rationing. Panic spread as populations realized their governments could not protect them. Quinra watched her business empire crumble. Ships she had paid fortunes for sat idle in orbit. Contracts worth billions of credits were being voided. Her fellow merchants faced the same fate. The Salathi economy, built on trade and exploitation, was dying. How long can the humans maintain these blockades? She asked her advisors. Indefinitely, one of them replied grimly. Our intelligence suggests they have the ships and supplies to keep this up for years. We do not. After 3 weeks of blockades, diplomat Sajin arrived at the council chambers. His ship was small and unarmed. It carried only him and a small security detail. The council, desperate for any chance to end the crisis, allowed him to dock. Sajin walked into the council chamber like he owned it. The last human to stand here had been Ambassador Doyun, begging for justice. Sajin was not begging. I bring terms from Earth, he said simply. Velthar, still recovering from the loss of his military command centers, leaned forward. What terms? Sajin pulled up a document. First, all human prisoners and slaves held anywhere in Council space will be returned immediately. Second, every species that participated in attacks on human colonies will pay reparations. The amount will be determined by the damages caused. Third, human military observers will be stationed on Council worlds to ensure compliance. Fourth, the Council will cede all disputed territories to human control. These territories will include the systems where attacks on humans originated. The Council chamber erupted. Representatives shouted that the terms were impossible, outrageous, an insult. Sajin waited for them to quiet down. When they did not, he spoke over them. These are not negotiations. You do not get to counteroffer. You will accept these terms. Or, the blockades continue. Eventually, your economies will collapse completely. Your people will starve. Your civilizations will tear themselves apart from the inside. You cannot do this, Quinra said. Galactic law forbids collective punishment of civilian populations. Sajin smiled coldly. Galactic law also forbids slavery. It forbids unprovoked attacks on civilian colonies. It forbids treaty violations. You broke those laws for 2 centuries. We are simply no longer pretending the laws matter. Cormash stood. The Council is assembling a fleet. 5,000 ships. We will break your blockades and take the fight to Earth. You are welcome to try, Sajin said. But understand this. Right now, we are being gentle. We are blockading, but not destroying. We are disabling ships, but not killing crews. If you attack us again, that restraint ends. We have weapons you have not seen yet. Weapons that will make what happened to the Arconians look merciful. You are bluffing, Cormash said. Sajin pulled up another display. It showed a human ship near an uninhabited star system. The ship activated a device. The star flickered, then emitted a burst of radiation. Every electronic system in the system fried. The planets became uninhabitable for months. This is one weapon, Sajin said quietly. We have others. We can crack your planets. We can disrupt your stars. We can deploy AI-guided weapons that will hunt your ships for years. We have been building these things while you raided our colonies. The question you need to ask yourselves is this. Do you really want to see what else we built? The Council chamber was silent. Some representatives looked terrified. Others looked defiant. But all of them were beginning to understand the truth. Humanity had prepared for total war. They had the weapons, the ships, and most importantly, the will to use them. Cormash refused to accept this. He had spent his entire life as a warrior. He would not surrender to a species he had always considered inferior. He gathered his fleet, 5,000 ships from across the Council. It was the largest military force assembled in centuries. They jumped to confront the human blockade at the Vrelian homeworld. Cormash expected a battle. He expected casualties. He expected, eventually, to win through superior numbers. The battle lasted 7 minutes. Human ships did not try to fight the Council fleet in open combat. Instead, they used tactics the Council had never seen. Fighters dropped small mines that created gravitational wells, pulling Council ships off course. Missiles that split into thousands of tiny warheads overwhelmed defense systems. And when the Council ships closed to weapons range, the human vessels simply jumped away and appeared somewhere else. Cormash could not even target them properly. Every time his ships locked on, the humans disappeared and reappeared behind his formations. His 5,000 ships fired at ghosts, while human weapons found their marks again and again. When the human fleet finally engaged directly, it was over in seconds. Weapons punched through Council shields like they were not there. Ships that took weeks to build were destroyed in instants. The Council fleet broke and ran. 2,000 ships escaped. 3,000 did not. Cormash's flagship was disabled, not destroyed. The humans boarded it and captured him alive. They sent a message with him back to the Council. We could have killed everyone. We chose not to. Do not make us change our minds. We could have killed everyone. 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 The council began to fracture. Species blamed each other for starting the war with humanity. The Arconians blamed the Salathi for profiting from human suffering. The Salathi blamed the Vrelians for not warning them about human military strength. Old alliances crumbled. Some species began negotiating secretly with humans, trying to make separate peace deals. Quinra sat in her empty mansion, surrounded by wealth that no longer had value. Her ships were idle. Her trade routes were closed. Her slaves had been freed and returned to human space. Everything she had built was gone. She finally understood. The humans were not angry. Anger fades. They were something far more dangerous. They were cold, calculated, and utterly focused. They had planned this for decades, and they would not stop until every wrong was answered. The council had a choice: accept human terms or watch their civilization collapse. There was no third option. Humanity had made certain of that. 1 year had passed since humanity left the peace talks. The galaxy looked very different now. Ambassador Doyun walked through the halls of the rebuilt council chambers. This station was new, constructed in a neutral location that both humans and the council agreed upon. The old Convergence Prime had been decommissioned. Too many bad memories there. The new council chamber was different. Human representatives no longer sat in a single chair pushed to the side. Now there were 12 human seats, equal to any other species. More importantly, those seats were at the center of the chamber. Doyun took his place as the session began. He looked around at the alien representatives. Some met his eyes. Many did not. The fear was still there, fresh and strong. Good. Fear would keep them honest in ways that laws never had. The council is called to order, Velthar announced. The Arconian speaker had kept his position, though his influence was much reduced. His people had learned a hard lesson about starting wars they could not win. First matter: trade route security in the outer sectors. The discussion was civil, polite. Nothing like the contemptuous dismissals of the old council. When humans spoke, everyone listened. When humans made suggestions, they were taken seriously. Not because anyone liked humanity now, because they feared what would happen if they did not. After the session ended, Doyun met privately with several council representatives. They wanted to discuss the military observers on their worlds. They found the constant human presence uncomfortable. The observers stay, Doyun said simply. They are not negotiable. They ensure you follow the treaties you signed. If you have nothing to hide, their presence should not bother you. It is a matter of sovereignty. A Vrelian representative protested. So was our colony on New Jeju, Doyun replied coldly. You did not care about our sovereignty then. Now you will accept observers, or the blockades return. Your choice. There were no more protests. In the territory that used to be controlled by the Salathi, Governor Jamin oversaw the rebuilding. The former slave colonies were being transformed. Humans freed from captivity were being given homes, jobs, and therapy to help them recover from their trauma. Jamin walked through the settlement on former mining station Krill 7. A year ago, this place had been a nightmare. Thousands of humans worked in toxic mines, digging out rare minerals for their Salathi masters. Many died from exposure or exhaustion. The ones who survived were broken in body and spirit. Now the mines were closed. The station had been converted into a proper colony with schools, hospitals, and parks. Children who had been born in slavery played in areas that used to be processing plants. Adults who thought they would die in chains were learning to live as free people again. Governor, the former captives want to speak with you, his assistant said. Jamin met with them in the community center. 50 people who had been slaves 6 months ago. They looked healthier now, but he could still see the scars. Not all scars were physical. What can I do for you? He asked. An older woman named Mira spoke for the group. We want to join the military. We want to serve. Jamin studied them carefully. You have been through enough. You do not need to fight anymore. With respect, Governor, yes, we do, Mira said. We were helpless once. Never again. We want to make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Human or alien. Jamin felt a lump in his throat. These people could have been bitter, angry, broken. Instead, they wanted to protect others. That was humanity's true strength, he thought. Not the weapons or the ships. The refusal to let suffering break their spirit. I will forward your applications to the recruitment office, he said. But I want you all to speak with counselors first. Make sure you are doing this for the right reasons, not just from trauma. They agreed. As they left, Jamin looked out at the station. This was why humanity had fought. Not for revenge, though that had been part of it. But for this. For the chance to help those who could not help themselves. Far from the rebuilt colonies, Fleet Officer Young stood on the bridge of the destroyer Dauntless. She was only 25 years old. But she carried herself with confidence beyond her years. 5 years ago, Young had been a slave on Quinra's mining world. She remembered the heat, the pain, the hopelessness. She remembered watching her brother die from toxic exposure while the Salathi overseers did nothing. She remembered thinking she would never see the sky again. Then the human fleet arrived. Marines in power armor stormed the mining station. They freed everyone. They gave Young medical treatment, food, and most precious of all, hope. She joined the military as soon as she was able. Now, she commanded a bridge crew on a ship that patrolled the same sector where she had been enslaved. The former slave masters lived in fear of her ship. She found that deeply satisfying. Captain, we are receiving a distress signal, her communications officer reported. It is coming from a Salathi trading vessel. They say they are under attack by pirates. Young considered for a moment. Part of her wanted to ignore it. Let the Salathi deal with their own problems. But that would make her no better than them. Set intercept course, she ordered. And prepare a boarding team. If there really are pirates, we will handle them. If this is a trap, we will handle that too. The Dauntless arrived to find the Salathi ship was genuinely in trouble. Pirates from a minor species were trying to hijack the vessel. Young's ship disabled the pirate craft in under a minute. Her marines secured both ships and freed the Salathi crew. The Salathi captain approached Young cautiously. Thank you for the rescue, I thought. I thought you would not help us. Not after everything my people did to yours. Young looked at the alien. She could hate him. She could hate all Salathi. But hatred was what had started this whole mess. We are not like you, she said simply. We do not let people suffer just because we do not like them. That is the difference between humans and the old council. We actually mean it when we say, everyone deserves protection. The Salathi captain nodded slowly. Young could see understanding dawning in his eyes. The humans had won the war not just with weapons, but with principles they refused to abandon even when it would have been easier to do so. On Earth, in the military headquarters, Admiral Heejin reviewed the latest reports. The galaxy was stable. Human colonies were secure. Former slaves were recovering. The council species were following their treaties. Everything she had fought for was working. She walked to her ready room and stood before a wall. On it were photographs. Thousands of them. Each one showed a human who had died in the 200 years before humanity stopped asking and started demanding. Civilians killed in raids. Soldiers who fell defending colonies. Children who never got to grow up. Her sister was there. The woman smiled out from the photograph, frozen in a moment of happiness that would never return. Next to her were Young's nephews. 3 boys who loved to build things and dream about the stars. All gone in the attack on New Jeju. We did it, Heijin said quietly to the photographs. We made them pay for what they did to you. We made sure it will never happen again. But she felt no joy. Just a deep, weary satisfaction. Justice was not the same as happiness. Victory was not the same as healing. The dead were still dead. The years of suffering could not be undone. Still, it had been necessary. The galaxy needed to learn that humanity had limits. That patience was not weakness. That a people who wanted peace did not mean they were incapable of war. An alert appeared on her datapad. A council ship had crossed into human space without authorization. It was probably just a navigation error, but protocols required a response. Heijin sent orders to intercept the ship, not to destroy it, just to escort it back to council space and remind them of the boundaries. Firm, but not cruel. That was the balance humanity had to maintain now. Strong enough that no one would attack them. Restrained enough that people did not become what they had fought against. Her second-in-command entered the ready room. Admiral, the Council is requesting a meeting. They want to discuss reducing the number of human military observers on their worlds. Denied, Heijin said. The observers stay for at least another decade. After that, we will review based on their behavior. Some council members are saying we are becoming tyrants. Heijin laughed bitterly. They can say whatever they want. We gave them 200 years to treat us with basic dignity. They refused. Now they live with the consequences. She paused. With my num. And the pos. But make sure our observers are following the rules. I want regular reports on their conduct. We will not become bullies just because we have power now. That was the real challenge, she thought. Humanity had won the war. Now they had to win the peace. They had to prove they could be strong without being cruel. They had to show that power did not have to corrupt. It would not be easy. But if humans could survive 200 years of being victims, they could survive the burden of being victors. Doyun stood at an observation window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were thriving. Former slaves were building new lives. Children were growing up safe, never knowing the fear their parents had lived with. And throughout council space, aliens learned a lesson that would shape the galaxy for generations. Humanity had given peace every chance, every opportunity, every benefit of doubt. When peace failed, they had not collapsed. They had not surrendered. They had become something the galaxy had not expected, something terrifying and unstoppable. They had become a people with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The galaxy would not make the mistake of pushing them again, not for a very, very long time.